Thanks very much. Hey, Sean, before we get started, any updates from the home front in
Oh
terms
yeah,
of,
no, I appreciate you asking about that. Little boy, Christian McVay came yesterday morning at 6, and mom and baby are doing good. And so, what a blessing, and what a crazy week to be playing on a Thursday.
um, can you give us an update on Davante Adams, what he's dealing with and what his status is
Yeah, it's
for?
just it's the hamstring, like we saw. The two guys that'll be DNPs that we're going to give them every chance that they've got would be Davante with the hamstring, and Fisk came out of the game with a little bit of soreness in his ankle, kind of got banged up. So we'll take it a day at a time with those guys, and those, because of the it'll just be a practice projection, so they'll both be DNPs. But we'll take it all the way up to game time and see where they're at.
So at this point, you're not ruling Davante out of the
I'm not
game?
ruling anyone out.
Uh-huh. What can you give us some insight into? Was it just a aggravating the situation that he's been dealing with, or a tear, or what's going on with
Yeah,
that?
just he got his hamstring. He felt it a little bit, and it's something that, like we've talked about, kind of been dealing with it, and he's as tough as it gets, and so want to be able to kind of see what it looks like with the time that we have.
And if he's not available, would Konate jump into that role? And if so, what have you seen from him?
He's done a great job. I
Mhm.
think he would step up. Obviously, it's great being able to get Tutu back, Xavier Smith, Jordan Whittington. So we've got a bunch of guys that have played meaningful football that know all the spots. But Mumph has done a really good job, Gary. Obviously, it's really more about, all right, how do you distribute your five eligibles? And so, we have to be able to have a plan for if he is and if he isn't. And those are, our jobs and our responsibilities with the contingency plans.
Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Stu. Hey, Sean. Obviously, adapting to the personnel you have available is part of your guys' job as a coaching staff. But if Devontae can end up going, do you see this as potentially an opportunity for this offense to evolve again, similar to when Puka got hurt and the tight ends became more involved as a result?
I don't know if I've thought about it like that, but I think you're always making sure that, you're able to adjust and adapt to whatever those circumstances are, whether one of your best players is available or not. So I guess I could say yes to that. You're still working through, the plans for and the plans if not. And so it's probably premature for me to be able to have a good answer for you on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Why?
Hey, Sean. Kobie Turner's had a lot of success finishing sacks the last couple weeks. Just what have you seen from him?
That's been something that I think he's always done a really good job of, Wyatt. He's a closer. And when he gets close, I think he's got, great bursts to be able to finish. He's obviously strong to be able to, come up with a body part and figure out how to get guys down. But that's been consistent from him, since his rookie year, and just the way that he works. He's only gotten better at it, and being able to make those types of plays. But I think it's just the impact, the influence that you have on the game, snap in and snap out. And that's been on display since he was a rookie. And it just so happens that he's been able to get some of those opportunities when the opposing offense is in some known pass, and he's able to finish some big plays for us that have really flipped the momentum of games, and been really happy for him, but not at all surprised.
And Mike talked yesterday just about how good the Seattle coaching staff is at, coming up with new ways and new processes to slow down different things. What have you seen from just their coaching staff and their ability to adapt?
Yeah, the same. I mean, they do a great job. I got a ton of respect for Mike and Adam Durde and their coaching staff as a whole. I think, you can always appreciate, the intent of what they're trying to get done. They're tied in on all three levels. There's a clear-cut understanding of what you're trying to get done offensively and how they can do things to kind of counter or put you in stressful situations. And and they play really good defense. They're connected on all three levels. They got great players, great scheme. They got great flexibility and fluidity, on a week-to-week basis. And and then when they get you in some, bad spots, I mean, they attack, and and they feast on that kind of stuff. And so whatever Mike said, I totally agree with. And there's nothing but a ton of respect for this coaching staff and these players and really this football team as a whole, not exclusive to the defense. Their defense is unbelievable, but they're excellent on offense. They're excellent in the kicking game. There's no weakness. This is as complete of a football team as there is.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Maria?
Hey, Sean, congratulations on the baby.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Usually in a season, there's more time between playing the same team. You guys just played Seattle a couple of weeks ago. When you look at recent tape, even in the last couple of weeks, do you see any great change, or is it very similar?
I mean, I see great, ability to adjust, adapt, and then continue to, do things at a high level while they've still added, and there's new layers and wrinkles to the things that they're doing, whether that be situationally and some of the, the normal down and distances. And so whether that be offensively, defensively, or in the kicking game, I've just seen a team that's gotten better throughout the season. They've added some wrinkles and layers, but it still is all geared around accentuating their player skill sets. And, you got 4 games in between from when we played them last. And so it is close, but you've been able to see how they've been able to evolve and adjust, and they've been winning games and playing at a really high level, as good as anybody in the league. So, like I said, it's going to be a great challenge for us.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Adam?
Hey, Sean, Mazel Tov. Tyler and Rob are both eligible to return from IR this week. Are they expected to be up for Thursday?
Yeah, not this week, just because, you don't really get a chance for any of the prep and the things that I think are in alignment with putting guys in a position to have successful outcomes. And so, we'll see where they're at once we get past this one.
How have they been progressing in their rehab?
They've been good. These guys, they're just so steady and they're so consistent. I mean, it's why they have such respect from their teammates, and nobody wants to be out there more than those guys do, but they're still impacting and influencing this team in a tremendous way. I think you look at the way that the tight ends or the way that some of the guys up front have played. I mean, it's a tremendous credit to the leadership that comes from both those guys that have been here long, been here before I was even fortunate enough to get here in 2017. And so these are legacy guys. These are guys that impact and influence positive change with people they're around and situations they're a part of. And I know they want to be out there, but even if they're not, they're still doing a tremendous job of impacting this team in a positive way because of who they are and how they lead and communicate, to their teammates, but especially the guys that are playing their positions.
And we saw how the conditions impacted Seattle's game last weekend. Do you do anything this week to prepare for some potential rain?
You don't have much time to adjust and adapt. I mean, we've been fortunate that we played in a couple wet games. So you always got to do a good job. That's obviously an important thing if it is one of those situations that we're aware of it. But you have to be able to adjust and adapt, but there's not too much that you can do in a short week just because of the nature of how you're forced to prepare in an accelerated timetable. And, the physical reps are incredibly limited, and they're really pretty much exclusive to tomorrow without pads on. And, so it's more similar to kind of like a Friday in a normal week, which you get minimal reps. So we'll be ready if we have to. And I think the benefit is that we've played in some games like that where we've had to deal with those elements.
Thanks, Sean.
You're welcome.
Greg?
Oh, hey, Adam just asked my question. I'm good. Thank you, Sean.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Greg.
Dennis?
Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning. Good to see you.
Same to you. The third quarter for your defense, you guys have allowed 17 points since the bye week. Would you attribute that to more halftime adjustments, or players just following the schemes that they have been already given for the week?
I think it's a collaboration. I think it's both. I mean, ultimately, the players are the ones that always bring the good stuff to life. I think what our coaches have done is, whether we've got some good momentum, let's continue on. Let's understand some of the things they're trying to do and continue to execute at a high level. And then last week was a great illustration of making some adjustments, making just a couple little tweaks here and there, and then the guys being able to bring it to life. The previous week was just a continuation. After we settled down after the first drive against Arizona, thought we played really well from the second quarter into the second half. And so, it's always about the collaboration, but the players are the ones that bring it to life. But I think Chris and the defensive staff have done an outstanding job consistently of being able to communicate with clarity of what the opposing team's trying to do. What are some of the things that if they've had success with that we can do to counter that or to be able to give ourselves a chance for more successful outcomes. And so I think that's what our job is, but can't make too many adjustments with the minimal time that you do have, but it's about making sure that our guys have clarity with how they can go execute and kind of what to expect in terms of the menu of things that we want to be able to get off into the second half.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sarah?
Hey, Sean, what went in the decision to have Akello inactive, and how do you view that cornerback rotation right now?
Yeah, I think we're just continuing to figure it out on a weekly basis. There's a lot of love for Akello. I think it was, just kind of what we felt like was best for that given game. He's done a hell of a job for us, but he also is coming off of an injury, hasn't played a whole lot of football. And, with D. Will being able to, get back out there, it's a fluid situation. I've kind of said to you guys from the jump, we've got four starting corners that we feel really good about. Unfortunately, usually you can only get about 3 of those guys up just based on the nature of your 48. And so there's some fluidity and flexibility based on, the upcoming matchup, how guys have played, what we think is best. But I can't say enough good things about Akello and the professionalism at which he approached last week. And, we'll kind of continue to see, what's best as we navigate, most importantly, just this game this week.
Where have you seen growth and development from Josaiah Stewart?
I just think, because of how intentional he is and I think, as he's continuing to accumulate reps, you're able to learn from it. I think he's getting more and more comfortable and confident of, the speed at which this game is played, some of the things that allow his great skill set to be able to come to life. Where does he fit in, some of the normal ball situations, and then where are some of his opportunities as a rusher? And he's obviously shown some versatility both as a rusher and if we ask him to be used in coverage. But I just think overall growth, intentionality day by day. And obviously he's got a great coach in Joe Caniglio that, really challenges these guys, but more importantly, loves them. And I think they feel that from him. And I think that's why you've seen such consistent growth and improvement from guys in that room in particular.
Have you seen him learning either on the field or just when you've been around from Byron and Jared Verse?
I think so. I think he's got a lot of respect for those guys. I think the game makes sense to him. He's a very instinctual player. He's really smart. He very rarely makes the same mistake twice. And then he's obviously got some really special ability. And so I think he's just continuing to learn, but I do think things come to him naturally because of his, overall football IQ and feel. And it's just some of the natural things that make sense to him, whether it be situationally or as a rusher, being able to work edges on people or understanding how to set an edge, and even where he fits in some of the coverage contours. He's just a really good football player, and he's only going to get better.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Lindsay, then Steve Weiss.
Hi, Sean. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Just wondering if you've slept at all since Sunday.
Not really. I mean, even for me, I gotta, this is a good challenge. So, but it's a blessing, to be able to, play in meaningful games this late in the season. And so, got a lot of, appreciation for our staff and fighting the good fight right now, Lindsay.
All right. Those hospital beds are super comfortable for dads, right?
Oh yeah. Just phenomenal.
Awesome. Congrats.
Thank you.
Steve.
Congrats, Sean.
Thank you,
You and on that. Just real quick, when you come on that 13 personnel, does Matthew go to line of scrimmage with the option to switch into a run play or a pass play depending on their alignment?
Yeah, the situationally dependent, absolutely. I mean, it just kind of depends, and that's not exclusive to whether you're in 13, could be 11 or 12. There'll be a bunch of times that we'll have run or pass options. Different things that we can call based on looks that we need to be able to be protected. So the answer is yes. He's always got, full autonomy and control over what we can do, whether we're in 13 or any of our other personnel groupings.
And lastly on that, with Seattle's personnel, because they got so many guys in the secondary who can do a lot of things as well, and with their linebackers, do they present maybe a different challenge with some of your personnel groupings and maybe other teams?
Well, I think they do a great job of being able to, they can match you normal or they can match you non-normal because they have some of those versatile pieces that they can use, that they might not be listed as a, you know, an outside backer, but they can play that way. They're a great defense. I mean, they deserve all the credit that they're getting, Steve. And I think Mike does a phenomenal job of accentuating their skill sets. They're tied in on all three levels. And so to answer your question in a simple way, the answer is yes. They pose a lot of problems. They understand how they can conflict you, and they make it really difficult to be able to find, you know, big play opportunities against them because of the way they play and some of the versatile pieces and playmakers that they have that, you know, they're able to defend you both in the run and the pass out of, you know, maybe some different groupings that other people don't have the luxury of being able to do.
All right. Appreciate you. Get some rest when you can.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank you, guys.